Hello lovely friends, today we've got some flower art. We're painting a flower with acrylic pouring, and I'm using the technique developed by and created by Fiona Art. So stay tuned and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate all my subscribers and my lovely members, Linda, Jill and Silver Dove. So let's see what we're going to create today. Today is another Talent Tuesday with my wonderful friend Kim, and the link for her video will be in the description, the comments below. So we've got reverse flower dip today, acrylic pouring for beginners. We're going to create a flower painting. So this is the setup and a quick sneak peek of a recent workshop that I had where two of the students also created a reverse flower dip, and I was blown away by the results. And I was also just blown away by the other two ladies at a really nice small workshop where we just had so much time to look at what we're doing, and we had so much creativity going on. They were all amazing. So here's the process, and here's how I created my reverse flower dip. And I was doing this at the beginning of the workshop to show them how I create a reverse flower dip, and it's been several months since I've done one, and so I was going a little bit more slowly, and while two of the other students were doing a different technique, I showed the two that were doing the reverse flower dip as we went along, so we all were creating at the same time. So I'm putting down about 1 ml of the base paint. I'm speeding this up slightly for you. So I've got a lovely plain black base, and if you follow my channel you know how much I love the Crawford and black and white paints for the base paint. They're the smoothest paints I've ever used for a base paint. Or pillow paint. They work in every different type of acrylic pouring. So if you're in the UK, get yourself down to the works. If you want to do some acrylic pouring, they're on special at the moment, and they do come in special every now and then. And I just have to get a huge amount of stock because I do go through an awful lot in my workshops and in my commissions and things. So as you can see, I was tipping the canvas to get rid of any excess paint, and then using my hand to just get rid of the drips on the outside. And I do that a few times so that I don't have excess paint. So I'm transporting the painting when it's fairly wet. There's less likelihood of it's falling off. So I've placed my bottom of a bottle in the centre of the canvas. It's trimmed off from a water bottle. You can just find the one that you like. This has got 5 different entries for paint on it, as you can see, and the ones that I've seen tend to be 5 or 6. And this I find works really well. I've used them all the way since the beginning. I've tried different ones, and this one seems to work really well. If you like sparkling water, it's the San Pellegrino. So I am, as you can see, layering the paint. I'm taking my time with it. Part of this is going to be sped up, and I found that by taking my time with it and going around and answering questions during the workshop, I actually have produced the flower that I've liked the most out of all of my reverse flower dips. So I'm so happy with this flower painting, how it turned out. But if you just see how I'm doing it, a lot of the time when you see reverse flower dips, it happens quite quickly. And with acrylic pouring, one of the things that I find is that there's a feeling of urgency to get the paint on to see the results, and you've really got to tame that for a minute just to see, just to allow the paint to drip down in its own time. And I'm just really being patient with this one, and it really turned out. So let me know if you do it and how it works for you. So I'm layering it in a way that just feels intuitively good. I'm just putting in gold. I've got 2 pinks and white, and what I'm gonna do is layer more paint in these first set of petals, and then in a minute I'm going to pick up the cup and very carefully move it so that the holes where the runways, if you like, where the paint runs down, is exactly in the little gaps. So I'm adding a bit of purple here as well, and I'm going to add in a minute, when I turn it round, a bit of yellow, which for me adds something a little bit different to the flower. So I'm just carrying on with my layering, and you can see how many times I layer. So I'm putting quite a few layers in, and I've found that the more layers that you can put in with little bits of paint, the more of an effect that you get. So this is one of the last colours I'm going to put down, which is a paint that I made up myself. It's a mixture of Pebeo, iridescent green blue, a tiny bit of white, and a tiny bit of iridescent blue green. All of these paints are Pebeo. They work so well together, and they work really well with the Crawford and Black base paint. So I'm putting a tiny bit of pink on again, and the pink and blue together I just always find a really, really lovely mix. And you can see that purple was called the Oriental Violet. In a minute, I can't wait to show you the other reverse flower dips. They were absolutely amazing. One guy in the course, it was his first time painting with acrylic pouring, and I was absolutely amazed. And Silver Dove, who was my other student who's doing the reverse flower dip with me, did unbelievable colours, and he always has this sort of Pink Floyd look with his paintings, and it was a Pink Floyd flower painting. It was absolutely, both of them were absolutely unreal, beautiful, and as were my other students. I'm going to be highlighting their paintings in another video because I want to focus on the reverse flower dip today. So I'm picking it up and really carefully placing it in the gaps. Now in the past I've done this quite quickly, and there is a different result that comes of that. So you're picking it up, moving it very gently into the gaps, and now I'm using different, same colours palette, but a different colour layering, because I want the inside petals just have to start creating a bit of a 3D look. And I find that when you do this on the second lot of petals, that gives it more 3D. And then at the end I'm going to be adding stamens. Now Fiona Art developed the reverse flower dip, and I absolutely love what she does. She's doing some more flower dips at the moment, so if you want to go and have a look at her flower paintings, pop along to her channel. Thank you so much, Fiona, if you're listening today. And Fiona's creative canvas, I saw last year that she added the stamens, and I've started to do that. I've got my own funny way of doing it, and you might want to use a slightly different tool, but I just find this particular tool works really well for me. So you can see that I'm putting slightly less paint on the second petal, and what I've done at this stage is I'm going around answering questions with the students. That's why I'm leaving the white for a little bit, and I start to continue on adding the other colour. And I found that leaving the painting is making the paint spread out a bit more, and I've put more paint on this time, and the flower seems to be fuller. In the past, when I've done painting, sometimes you've got a tiny flower coming out of it, and that literally is the amount due to the amount of layering and the amount of paint that you put on. So we're now going on to the yellow, and for me this made the flower, it gave it a slightly more 3D look, and it was only a little bit of yellow, and it's the first time I've applied it, and it's on the inside of the petals. In other words, it's one of the last colours that I use, and it's really quite dynamic, that yellow colour. I'd love to know what you think. So I now get my cocktail stick, my magical cocktail stick. It's one of the best things I find for striking through the paint. And after just adding one more tiny bit of white to highlight that yellow, I then get my cocktail stick and I start from the very, very inside of the petal, and then just go all the way through the middle out, and I do it in all of the petals. So at this stage you can see some of the petals are quite big and some of the petals are quite small. It's down to the amount of paint and the amount of time that you allow for the paint to fall down. So you can see the inside petals are very slightly smaller, and that for me is the difference between having a flower that looks 3D. So let's get this cocktail stick and start striking through the paint. You can use a cocktail stick or you can use something else. I find a sharp end really works well. So I place my cocktail stick in the very centre of the colours of the petal and then go all the way through, as you can see. And I go around doing that to all of the petals in turn. And I tend to just go in order, so I go down around all the different outside petals, the very first petals, and then I go to what I see as the inner petals, and I'm striking it from the yellow, through white through the yellow. Can't you see it already that yellow is going to have an impact? So I'd love to know what you think so far and whether you've tried this. So what happens now is a bit of a magical thing. I take off the centerpiece and you'll be able to see how big the center is. I often fill that center a little bit, but this time I lay down my dampened serviette, which is a paper serviette, and I make sure, this is the bit that the students are thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen to my flower? And it's a really, really funny moment because you have to just make sure that every part of the paint is patted down. And then as you gather the corners, make sure that the centre of the serviette is the centre of the flower. So it doesn't matter if your serviette isn't centre on the canvas, but make sure as you pull it up, it's as central as possible. So can you see the yellow? And what I'm doing now is I used to spin, and now rather than spinning, I tip just to make it emphasize the 3D element. So I've decided which way the stamens are going to go, and I'm using my scissors there to put the stamens in, and then I use my cocktail stick to drag the stamens down very, very lightly. And there we have it, a reverse flower dip. So I'd love to know what you think of this flower painting today. Do you use acrylic pouring to create flowers? And if you do, let me know what you're up to and what methods you use. So here's the finished result. I was so pleased with this one. This is the best one I've ever done. I don't normally do good paintings when I'm in a workshop because I'm so focused on all the other people. So here are the amazing flower dips, amazing flower paintings that my students created, and the colours they used were so dynamic and refreshing and amazing. And here are the results, the dried results. I just love the colours. So what do you think? Let me know. And what I'll do is I'll show you a quick sneak peek now of the other of their flower dips once they were created. Aren't they beautiful? And the stamens they put in, absolutely beautiful. I'm just blown away by all these students today. And here's a quick sneak peek of the other students' paintings that I'm going to be focusing on in 2 weeks' time. And this is the chain pull. What beautiful colour palettes and what beautiful paintings that they have created. And they were painting on their egg boxes and practicing on their pots and everything. And I gave them a little gift at the end, which was a yo-yo, and so they're doing all sorts of different things with their yo-yos. So thank you so much for being here today. I've really enjoyed sharing this flower art with you. Let me know what you're up to. Let's go over to Kim's channel now and see what she's done, and I'll put the link for her video in my description and comments below just in case you missed it. Thank you so much for being here. Keep shining, and don't forget that your art is a piece of you. At the river where my soul